recording?
Yep.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Now call this Fairfield Township Board of Trustees meeting to order. Ms. Schultz, we call the roll, please.
Trustee Birding.
Present.
Trustee Harkemeyer.
Here.
Trustee McAbey.
Here.
Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for being flexible this evening, letting us start the meeting a couple hours earlier. It will definitely help me on my 5-hour drive to get in a little bit earlier this evening, so thank you all very much for your flexibility. There are no presentations this evening or items for board discussion, and I don't see anybody has signed up for communication because there's nobody here. So we'll move on to consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered by the Board of Trustees to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any trustee may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. No second is required for the removal of an item. Items removed for separate discussion will be considered after the motion to approve the consent agenda. This time, I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding.
Yes?
Trustee Harkemeyer.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes.
And that motion passes. May we have the fiscal officer's report, please?
Sure. For balances as of 11/30, our checking account balance 2.8 million. JED revenue received year-to-date for Hamilton 652,000. Year-to-date for Fairfield JED 44,000. We have 15.3 million in our investment account. We earned 40,000 in interest in November. EMS billings receipts to date 866,000. Revenue to date 15.8 million. Expenditures to date, 16.2. We made $1.5 million in payments, and our overall total of all funds is 18.1. The only other thing I want to tell you is we signed a contract with Ballister and Company, which is going to be our new auditors for the next 5 years. So the auditor state gave us 5 to bid on and ranked them and rated them, and that's who got the contract. So we'll be working with Ballister and Company for the next 5 years for the audit. I think that's all I have for you.
Do we have to vote on that?
We don't get a choice. Auditor state picks it.
I thought you said it was, they looked at the 5? Or?
They picked 5, and I got to interview them and stuff, but I didn't get to pick at the end of the day.
But we don't have to vote on?
No.
On what we're going to pay them or nothing?
No, it was all under auditor state rates, which the auditor state sets the max rate they can charge. So that's who they chose. That's all I have.
Any other questions for Ms. Schultz? Okay, administrator's report, Ms. Lepensi.
All right, under motions, I would like for you to pass a motion to schedule a special meeting on, it could be any day towards the end of December. I picked December 29th to discuss final revenues and expenditures for 2025 and possible transfers. So if December 29th does not work, it really only has to be like a 5-minute meeting. But it's to approve our final revenues as they come in, if we've made any changes to our expenditures, and then that's it.
So we haven't done that for the last 9 years. Why are we doing it now?
Supposed to be doing it.
I have sent an amended certificate every time we've adjusted appropriations. So as long as you didn't need more
Who'd you send it to?
the auditor. So as long as you don't
We
need.
didn't vote on it.
Yes, you did. Every time an amended appropriation came, you
We
voted on it.
After the December meeting, before you sent it, or?
No, what I'm saying is every time we needed to amend appropriations throughout the year, you would vote on it, and then I would send an updated certificate to the auditor. You do not have to send revenue unless you need it appropriated. And we have never needed to, well, we have amended.
We appropriate everything we have, so.
We did, we amended the revenues
Yep.
and expenditures at last meeting to pay that one bill.
Right.
I usually just do a wrap-up at the end of the year.
Yeah, so I do it throughout the year, and I send it every time there's a change. And we've never, prior to this year, had to amend revenues. And if we did, I sent an updated one, and you guys approved it. So Kim and I just do it a little different. I send it every time it happens. She sends it at year end. She's doing the same thing I've done.
I'm free on the 29th. Could we make that at this 5 o'clock time slot?
Yeah.
Would
could
that
be
work for
anytime.
everybody?
But Joe, you said you weren't
I'm
available,
not
right?
available on
You're
the
not
29th.
available? Okay.
But if that's all you're going to do, that's fine. Y'all go ahead.
Okay. We'll set it for 5 PM. I move
Okay.
to set a special meeting for December 29, 2026 at 5 PM to discuss final revenues and expenditures for 2025 and possible transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
And that motion passes. Can we have the next motion, please?
Okay, motion to authorize the township administrator to sign a request for consent to assignment of Fairfield Logistics Tax Increment Financing Agreement. So Katie did some research for us this is a holdover from last meeting, and really all it is Maris sold the property to that CVG company, so they're just reassigning the debt to that property. Like, they would make the debt payments instead of Maris making the debt payments. So that's basically all it is.
The minimum payment
Yes.
on the million point whatever bond that was issued. That's what
Right.
we're talking about?
Yes.
Motion to adopt?
Second? Any other questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee Birding?
Yes?
Trustee McAbey?
Yes? Will that be go through the audit process where it'll be attached to the property, or how do we know? Anything like that that has to happen? Does it have to be recorded is the word I was looking
I believe it is going to get recorded with the purchase because they had to purchase the property, and with that all gets wrapped up into their contract for purchase. So I believe that will be all recorded with their documents.
And that motion passes. May we have the first resolution, please?
Resolution number 25-146 is a resolution to prohibit through trucks on certain township roadways. So this was also, we had a first reading on this at the last meeting. So I deleted the two roadways that were in question at the last time we talked. So I deleted Tooley and Princeton Road from the resolution. So that just leaves us Morrison Vintage.
I move to adopt the amended resolution 25-146. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
at. How do we expect to enforce this?
I guess if anybody calls, then we'll have to put the police out there, or maybe I don't know. Maybe when you guys have downtime, you can drive out that way and sit, like if we get a complaint, like we get a speed complaint, could you handle it the same exact fashion?
Yes, we would.
I will say too that I frequently see our staff over on Vintage, over by Jamie Drive. So I'm certain that Chief Shabali would instruct staff to be on the lookout for trucks going through there as well. The other thing of note is that the city of Fairfield also has signs posted at their section of the front part of Vintage as well. So I don't know if it makes sense for us just to be in contact with them as well, and maybe they have some ideas on enforcement regarding that as well.
I think Mike didn't, or Jeff. Didn't Mike check into that? And, because there is, the two signs are already there, we would just have to put ones up on Morris. Okay.
So what is the penalty?
I think it's a $100.
And while she's looking that up, is there a mechanism where residents can make complaints with that too? Like if they get tag numbers or things of that
Yeah,
nature?
they can send us through the contact me.
Okay.
So, and we think Fairfield already has it. Are they enforcing it?
That I don't know. I just know that the signs are in the corp section. Like our signs are in our township, and then there's one sign that's in the corp part. Yeah, I know, that's what I was just. See, whoever violates this section will be assessed a civil fine of $250 for the first violation of this resolution, $500 for the second violation within a 1-year period, and $1,000 for the third and each subsequent violation of this resolution.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, you call the roll?
Trustee Birding.
Yes,
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes.
and that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 25-151 is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the County Auditor's Office. So all of these rates became available, I think, late summer. So we just, sorry, we forgot to bring it to you guys to get you guys to approve it.
Can we add that to the,
I think we did
Calendar.
last week.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
meeting.
thank you. Thank you.
But basically, there's nothing that changed. It's all the same thing that we submitted for our tax budget.
Okay, I move to adopt 25-1, 151,
Yes.
151.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding.
Yes,
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes.
and that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution?
Resolution 152 is a resolution adopting the 2026 permanent appropriations by the attached fund totals for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2026. So I sent you all a copy of the budget. I didn't know if there was a particular part of the budget that you want me to explain in greater detail. I can do that. Unless there's any questions. I wasn't really planning on going over it unless
Well,
you wanted me to.
Yeah, I mean, I met with you, also met with Ms. Schultz to go over the budget, understand the numbers. I wanted to make sure that I knew about that before the meeting began. So thank you for taking the time to explain some things. And
No
Ms.
problem.
Schultz, thank you for helping me with that. I move to adopt 25-152.
Second?
Is there any other questions or comments?
And maybe just for the record, you could summarize for the people that missed the last meeting.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the best way to summarize this. So basically, obviously, you guys have heard me rattle on about how we have fund accounting and everything's in a separate fund. And then, it gets broken down further from the general fund, which pays for general administrative costs. And then we have it gets broken down further like motor vehicle license, gas tax, road and bridge. That's all public works. And then we have our police fund, and we have our fire fund, and then we have safety services that pays for both police and fire. And then we have a permissive motor vehicle tax that also pays for public works. We have fire and rescue fund that's mainly just for EMS collections, like when we bill people, when we go out on an EMS run. And then we have a lighting district those are all assessed costs to those homeowners that live in a subdivision that have lighting districts. And then we have two JEDs, one with the city of Hamilton and then one with the city of Fairfield. And we collect at various rates with the city of Hamilton and Fairfield we share revenue. Basically, it's like having a mini city over certain areas, and we share the revenue taxes from that. We also have 4 TIFs that we use, which is called the Tax Increment Financing Districts. We have one for Story Point, Princeton Road, Seward, and Bridgewater. Those basically where you pay pilot payments, which is payments in lieu of taxes. So you're paying payments And then most of the time, those payments are paying bond payments or development agreement payments. And we have a few. We have one bond that we pay on that's left in the Princeton Road TIF, and it's debt service from the Princeton Road improvements that we made a couple years back. That gets paid off in '27. And then we have a development agreement with the developer for Seward Road. And then we also have a development agreement with the developer for Bridgewater Falls. And then we also have One Ohio Fund, which is all of the opioid settlement money that comes in. Fairfield Township gets a percentage of those settlement agreement. And then we also have a residential incentive district, which is the same as a TIF district. And Fairfield Township shares the money with the county, and we get about $375,000 a year for that, and it pays for mainly road improvements. I want to say that most of our funds generally are to pay for salaries and not so much anything else. And probably safety services probably makes up about 60 to 70% of our budget.
And summarizing it, it shows revenues of 20.3 million and expenditures 23.8 million, almost
Right.
23.9.
Yep. So we will adjust the balances off to the side, the last sheet. Obviously, those balances are probably not correct. Those are balances that were based off if we spent all of our appropriations that we appropriated this year. So after we get to the end of the year, I will update all of those balances so that they'll be more correct. And then we can send those to the county, because we have to have, that's why we have to do the end of the year revenues and expenditures. So I make sure that the carryover balances are correct going into the first of the year. But I'm hoping that that number, hopefully we don't get to that 6.7 million at the end of 2026. I hope that it's a bigger number.
Thank you for that information.
Sorry, anything else? Okay, Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Yes,
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
All right, Resolution 25-153 is a resolution declaring the necessity of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation within the township and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection therewith. So this is the first step in the process for a fire levy and a police levy. So I've written many spreadsheets, and I think I've shared them all with you guys about the millage that I think will be necessary for us to get through the next 5 years. For the fire levy, it would be, I'm estimating 4.49 mils. So this resolution would be the first step in the process. We would send it to the county auditor's office. And then the county auditor's office will certify what 4.49 mils will generate. And then at the next meeting, we will decide if we want to proceed.
At the next regular meeting.
Yes,
We will not be doing that at the special meeting on the 29th.
yes, sorry.
Just want to make sure everyone understood the process and when things
Yep.
are coming in. You know, I think when I was walking around talking to people this past summer, everyone was appreciative that the three of us were doing what we can to push levies down the road as far as we can, but the overwhelming majority of them are saying, what, you know, for police and fire, we understand that there may be a necessity to keep the services as they are, because they were very grateful for the services that we provide here in Fairfield Township. And so while this number may not be the number we have to go with, I think this is at least a first step to get back from the auditor what that millage looks like. So I think that's why we're going through this step right now, because we don't know if this is something that we're going to be doing in May or November or at all. But at least this is the first step. At this point, I will move to adopt 25-153. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there other questions, comments?
Seems like we just did this, didn't we?
Yeah, it's something that we did back in June or July, July.
Yeah.
And,
it would've been June.
Again, that was, the residents were very appreciative that we gave them 2026 off of tax collections. And so if this were to happen, then we could start collecting taxes in 2027. And so I think that's why that this is a good time to start having that conversation again. Once we get those numbers back, then we can have full conversations again about what the expenditures are, what this numbers looks like, what will happen, how we proceed further.
The thing I think we need to remember too is that we made the original levy that we did some numbers years ago. It was only meant to be a 5-year levy. And through careful spending, we've made that last a whole lot longer than just 5 years.
But it'll be at least 11,
Right.
so.
Yeah, clearly that levy was too large when it was passed. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made it that long. Because I can hear the words back then. This is just to stay the way we are, and that's not what's happened.
Well, you were against that levy.
No, I voted for the levy.
You were against the levy.
No,
I
I wasn't.
remember it. And when it passed, you were very disappointed. You
I was-
gloated, and you were not in favor of that levy. I
I'm sorry,
remember
are you
it.
talking about me?
I'm talking
Because you're
about
wrong on
you.
both counts.
I'm
Okay,
telling you,
both
pull the
account.
recordings.
Both
right.
accounts.
Pull the
yeah,
recordings.
Pull the recordings out.
Can
Pull
we
the
can we
recordings.
go ahead and move on with the vote?
What, I'm curious what recordings that would
Okay.
be.
The ones from these meetings.
We don't need
Pull
to-
them.
These meetings?
We don't have to have this discussion right now. We're just talking about right now, sending this to the
I
auditor.
wasn't
to get
on the
numbers
board
back.
when that vote came
It
up.
was your meeting when you got elected. You
Okay.
came in and
I
gloated.
didn't vote for the special
Trustee
election
McAbey, Trustee Harkemaier, can we please move on?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Please.
and waste the money
All right.
to have a special election.
Thank you. So, Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, we're not through discussing it, are we? I mean, why are we doing this now instead of next year when we have the new assessed values? We're not going to get any money any sooner if we do it in May or in November.
My thought process is if we,
And I'm sorry, Kim, I understand I know why you're doing it. I'd just like to hear what the board has.
okay.
Because this is the first step. If it's to be on the May ballot, we need to have this resolution passed to send it to the,
That's the process for it.
yeah, so it's got to be voted on in January because November the 4th or the 5th, whatever that day, the 90 days is, will,
I think it's February
sorry,
4th.
February 4th happens before our February meeting. So if we're going to vote on this in January and December, we've got to send it to the auditor. Now, we can decide that we're not going to put it on the May ballot, and that may be what this board decides. But in order to at least have the chance to put it on in May, we've got to send it to the auditor in December so that we can have it to look at in January, to vote on in January, to get before the 90-day deadline. And so that's the reason that the timing is now, as opposed to waiting. Now, again, if we decide and we vote not to put it on May, and then we have to ask the auditor for the numbers again in July or whatever, then so be it. But we have to start a process. If we just wait, then we have no chance of doing it in May.
And that's based on just having one meeting a month, that type of thing. Because we could have, as long as we meet the deadline, it doesn't matter, right?
Well, I was just being proactive, and I feel like if we don't, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but I feel like if we don't at least have the option to put it on for May, and if it fails in May, do we come back in June and say, okay, now we need a smaller number? I don't know. But if we don't at least talk about it now and talk about it in January, then there's no chance of us putting it and voting on it in February to put on a May ballot. And so we can wish and want all we want, but this is just the process. And that's why I have voted or made a motion to pass this resolution or to adopt this resolution, is because we need to get the clock started if we want. Now, again, we can, the end of January or beginning of February, a special meeting or whatever you feel is necessary happens, and we say, no, we're not going to put it in May, at least we did our due diligence to get the numbers in front of us to make that decision in January. So that's the reason that the timing is what it is.
And actually, the last time we ran that levy, a larger levy was posted in the earlier election that year. That one did not pass. The second one, which was for a lower amount, did pass. It would have been better if the larger amount one would have passed. That would have gotten us a little bit further down the road, but we did pass the lower value levy the last time we did run this.
Any further discussion, Trustee McAbee?
I'm just concerned about the size of the levy and the new evaluation, the school district and what they're going to do. The county's already looked like moving with a 2 mil levy for another organization. Just very concerned about all of that.
Well, and the bigger picture too is we don't know what's going to happen with this abolish property tax movement that's happening across the state. That could be on the ballot next year. It might be on the ballot the year after that. We don't know. And that could potentially blow all of this out of the water, which would mean that we would have to be looking at some other things that we should be doing. So that's another thing that is running in the background as well.
Okay, Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbee?
Yes?
And that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
The next resolution is 25-154, is a resolution declaring the necessity of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation with the township and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection therewith. And this is for the police. So, and I failed to give the numbers earlier. For the fire, we would need to generate $3.5 million a year. And for the police, I estimate that we will need to generate $2.3 million per year. So we would be at a 2.99 mil levy tier.
And I think this is in response to Trustee McAbee's wish to have a separate levy for police and fire. I would agree it makes more sense to do that instead of a combined levy, and that's why we have two separate things here. One would be for, the first one is for a fire levy, and this would be for a police levy. I move to adopt 25-154. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further questions or comments?
Yeah, we've backed ourselves into a big corner by not being proactive several years ago and having smaller levies and waiting until the financial distress the township's in. So you look at it, 7.5 mils. It's not looking good.
Well, the other thing too is we've got a little bit of a surplus in our general fund right now, which I think is what we're using to get through this next upcoming year. So I think that's a good thing. If we would have waited any longer, it would be a problem. But we've got that excess money in the general fund, which has been prudently set aside for a number of years to cover us for this stage in time. And that was another opportunity for us to push that levy even further down the road than what we already did. So luckily we have that, and we have that fund right now that can get us through 2026. Beyond that, and then I think it's a good opportunity to ask our citizens, do you want what we have, or would you like us to look at something else?
Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbee?
Yes?
That resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 25-155 is a resolution accepting the bids for the 2026 curb and gutter project and awarding the bid to Adelita Construction in the amount of $130,663.05 and will be paid from the Princeton Road TIF 2906. So we received, I think it was 5 bids. We actually had 10 people come in and were interested in the bids, picked them up, and then we ended up getting 5 bids back. So, and this was the lowest bid. The average bid was about 447, which was still under the 150,000 mark that we had set. But they sharpened their pencil and they got the bid.
I move to adopt Resolution 25-155.
Second.
Is there any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee Mackabee?
Yes?
That resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 25-156 is a resolution to reorganize Fairfield Township for 2026. So I know this is something different. It's meant to replace us having an organizational meeting at the beginning of the year, or we don't have to do it and we can just move our meeting up to January. It doesn't matter to me. I was just trying to make it easier for everybody. But basically, this resolution ties everything in that we typically do in January in this one resolution. So it basically sets our meeting dates for the second Tuesday of every month, except for June. I think one of our trustees had a conflict, so we moved it to June 16th. It's how we compensate our trustees. So the two new trustees will be compensated at the new rate. And then the other trustee on the other schedule will still be compensated at the same rate as this year, the same with the fiscal officer. Our elected officials and department heads will be members of OTA. And then Section 4 spells out all of our different memberships that we have and that we pay dues for. Section 5 is that our policy, our employee manual policy will remain the same. Number 6 is the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting dates will be the fourth Thursday of each month, except for November and December, where we have to move it up a week due to the holidays. Zoning Commission meetings will be held the third Wednesday of each month at 7. Section 8 is to approve the calendar events for 2026, which would be Spring Cleanup, Armed Forces Day, and Veterans Day. Section 9 is all of our holiday schedule. Section 10, I put this in here because this is what we had from last year, and I just left it the same. I guess we could pull this out if you wanted to, but basically it's reappointing Shannon to Clout, reappointing Chuck.
Actually, just, Clout is not appointed by Fairfield Township. My
Okay.
position on Clout is an appointment based on the southwest region of the Clout members.
Okay.
So it's not an appointment from Fairfield Township.
Okay. Chuck's on the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce. The Emergency Management Agency, I left Shannon on there. For the 2026 Volunteer Firefighters Fund board members, I left Joe and Shannon on there. And then we also have Shane Owens, Jordan Peters, and Jason Jeffers. The TID, I just reiterated what we did the last meeting with Joe Maccabee staying on the board. And then Fairfield Jed, same, left Michael on the board. And then the Hamilton Jed, I left Shannon on the board, if that's okay with everybody. Section 11, the board approves the adoption of the most recent Robert's Rules of Order. Section 12 is that we approve the official IRS mileage reimbursement rate for 2026. Section 13 is that we approve the per diem rate for 2026 as established by the federal government for travel and meal reimbursements. Section 14 is our same spending authorities that we had, the 7,500 and the 1,500. And Section 15 is just that we'll follow the 2026 competitive bidding process. So I just thought it might be easier than having a whole separate meeting. You just wrap it up into one resolution and be done with it.
I think also we'd have to move our meeting to get within the deadline
Yeah.
of having these things
Right.
voted on, right? We'd have to
Yeah.
move our meeting up
Up to in the beginning of January.
in January.
The one thing I didn't include in here is obviously you guys will have to pick your chairman and your vice chairman, and we can do that at the very first meeting in January.
The other thing I'd like to open up, and it's okay if this doesn't work out, but I'd like to just bring it up for discussion, is potentially, and I understand this might not work for everyone, and so I give that deference, but I think it might be helpful for staff to meet at 5 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, and I get that that might not work, and I understand that, but I just wanted to open that up for discussion in case that would be a possibility.
My concern is trustee McAbey, is your office still on the west side of Cincinnati?
It is.
And so
And
that
I-
would be difficult.
I get
Be
that.
difficult to get here. So I would leave that up to you, trustee McAbey. If
And
that
I
doesn't
get
work
it
for
if
you,
it
we leave it
doesn't
at 7
work,
o'clock.
but-
7 works better for me.
Okay. Just a couple comments. You notice that on the events, things that we did not add was our Easter event, because we were in our Patriots Day event. Those are events that we are finding sponsors for to try to cover the cost, and we were successful. But we decided to leave them off. And if monies are raised to have those events, we could always add them later. But I didn't want to ask people to have to raise money for these special events when we're trying to organize and find ways of saving money across the organization. I do know also, I think that the organizer of the Patriots Day event is not doing it anymore, and so I don't think any other firefighter wanted to do the car show, and so that's why that's also left off of there. If it's something that we want to add later, we can have that at those discussions later. And I did have that conflict for June the 9th to June the 16th. Is there any other conflicts that any other trustees have at this time where we should change those dates?
I might have a conflict with that June date as well.
You may have a conflict for June 16th.
Possibly, very possibly. Yeah.
Okay, you have conflicts in June, trustee McAbey?
Well, I was just going to say it still might be simpler just to leave it like we've done.
Okay.
Second Tuesday and then adjust based on whatever comes up.
Okay, that's fine. We can leave it on June 9th. And if I'm not here for that meeting, then I'm not here for that meeting. I'm already planned to be out of town with family. So we will, section 1 of the resolution, we will just cross off where it says except for the June 9th. Just everything following that on section 1, cross off.
Okay.
The other thing I would suggest adding is that you have to have a process for advertising special meetings. You know, you have to include within your provisions that you're going to give 24 hours notice and how you're going to schedule a special meeting. That has to be a process adopted by the township, so.
Okay.
That should be something that's included. And we've done that in the past, yeah.
Okay. Oh, the first meeting. Okay, I can do it in January?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be done by the 10th of January?
No.
Okay. So I move to adopt the amended resolution 25-156. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 25-157 is a resolution authorizing the administrator to purchase new phones and system as attached for the administration, fire, police, and public works departments from FortiVoice at a cost of $50,721 for 2026 and a recurring cost of $3,515 for the next 4 years after that, which brings the total cost to $64,781, which will be paid from the multiple fund accounts. So I'm going to do my best to explain this, but I have Mark and David who have agreed to come here and back me up because I am not a tech person. So basically, our phone system contract will end at the end of this year. We will need to upgrade our phones, computer, and other technology due to the age of the equipment. We have received quotes for the phone system and will continue to get quotes for the remainder of what needs to be replaced, and that being computers, network switches, things like that. We currently pay $20,331.52 per quarter, or $81,326.08 per year. This includes our phone system, IT services, fiber service management, spam management, and VPN licenses. The phone system maintenance cost per year totals $15,594.96, but will drop to $3,515 per year, which will save us $12,079.96 per year, or $60,399.80 over the next 5 years. We do recommend the purchase of the new phones, which will cost $50,721 upfront. But these new phones will give us local survivability gateway, which will also allow the phone system to still function during an event, which it gives us an auto failure feature to it. This will also eliminate any ongoing or future maintenance issues with individual phones and give us the newest and best technology that is available. So did you guys have anything else you wanted to add to it, or did I explain it? I mean, I know it's probably still gobbledygook, but. Okay.
We evaluated about 5 different options, and we strongly recommend the four-way solution. The other thing I want to with the township, we've averaged between contracts that Kim was just referring to. We are working through that might come their way.
But we also did, like Chuck started where we went through and did an inventory of everybody's phones, and then we found, I don't know, 17 different phones that we don't use and don't need. So that also is factored into this. That's why it's given us a cheaper rate, because, I mean, what's the point of having the phone if we're not using it? So obviously, we're getting billed for it, so that helps too. But.
One of the big component of that savings is the fact that the forward voice solution does not require a higher level engineer. And since David admits we're doing your day-to-day support, we'll be able to do those changes for you.
So I know it's upfront cost is probably what probably is, going to be an ouch for everybody. But at the same time, frankly, we're going to spend it anyway, probably in maintenance cost over the life of the phone system. And it's an aging phone system. We're going to have to replace it anyway. So it's best to just go ahead, spend the money now to invest in it. And then that lowers our monthly or yearly costs for the next 5 years.
So the total cost for 2026 is of $50,721?
Plus the 3515. And then over the life of it, it's going to cost the 64,781.
Yeah, but for 2026, how much money are we going to spend?
50,721 plus the 3515. Yeah,
Oh, so we're going to pay the 3515 next year also?
yeah.
So
The
that's-
50,000 is for the capital, and then the 3515 is for the maintenance, like the support
What
and
are
all
we
that.
spending now? What are we spending now with the current program for next year?
We are roughly spending $15,594.96. Yeah, it says we would, this will save us $12,079.96 per year, or $60,399.80 over the next 5 years. So I know that we're going to spend a little bit more than what we would save, but we're getting a better phone system, and it has a survivability to it. So like if something were to happen, we would have phones. And right now, our current system doesn't have that.
mean, it sounds like something we ought to and need to do. It's just a matter of where we're going to find the money.
Yeah, well, next year we'll be able to pay it out of all the funds that we have, because I budgeted for it.
We don't have all the funds that we have.
Well, you know what I mean. If the budget that I just presented that
Right,
we,
you included it.
yeah, I included it in there.
And it's capital, so we could use TIF.
So instead of $75,000 over 5 years, it's $64,000. Okay. Well, $15,000 a year times 5 is $75,000. And this is $64,781.
And we're thinking we should get more than 5 years. You should be able to get more than 5 years, most likely.
8 to 10 is usually a very reasonable assessment or assumption. What I don't know is what's going to happen in year 6. Cost of technology, but I can tell you that the cost increase under the Board of Ed solution will be
This will be charged back to each department based on the number of phones?
Okay. Well, I move to adopt 25-157.
Second.
Any questions or comments further? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes?
And that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 25-158 is a resolution to authorize the administrator to sign an agreement with MedBen and to establish a flexible spending arrangement that encompasses both health, dependent care, FSA, and a limited purpose HRA reimbursement arrangement, the HRA. So the HRA has to do with our medical prescription program that we will run. And then the FSA is for the dependent care and health. So you can have money deducted, tax-free, or pre-tax, I should say, into your flexible spending account. And then you can also have money put into a dependent care flexible spending account, which is also pre-tax. So this is a new thing that we're doing this year.
I move to adopt 25-158.
Second?
Any further questions or comments?
How does the HRA work?
I don't know exactly. It has to do something with the prescription drug program. I can get you more of the details. We only had one call about it, and it has to do with when they outsource the drugs, like they talked about today, how they outsource them from Canada. It has to do with that. I'll get you more details on it, though.
Yeah, she didn't mention that today, so the HRA part.
Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes?
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
That resolution is adopted. Committee reports. TID, Trustee McAbey.
Yeah, we met last week, our last meeting of the year. We started off with recognizing Don Hassler for his 30 years of service to the TID. I think he's been there almost the whole time, representing the city of Fairfield. And, you know, and when we went down that trip down memory lane, we talked about all the different projects and the things that have happened, although I've been there 10 years, but I saw it from the beginning and from a distance saw a lot of the things that were happening. And we just like to recognize him here for his service to that committee. And we had updates on all the projects. We hadn't met in a couple of months. The Milliken Road interchange, we're in the right-of-way phase. So we're out there buying the right-of-way so we can get that project moving, keep it moving. It's going to be great for the whole region when that happens. The North Hamilton crossing, again, we're keeping that moving. We broke out the second part of the second roundabout on the west side. And again, those are continuing to move. The project on Sims Road, the rail crossing, that's really starting to take off. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, the way the proposed alignment, they have a preferred alignment around there, and the bridge over the railroad track is going to be a big plus for that whole area. I drive it every day, and I'll be glad to see something happen in there. And the other projects, like I said, they were all moving also, but if you have any questions for me, just let me know.
All right, thank you, Trustee McAbey. Trustee Harkemeyer, EMA.
EMA met this afternoon. They reviewed multiple different activities that they've been working on. They've done several different exercises regarding active shooter exercises, one at Mercy Hospital specifically. They've done multiple outreach events. Some of the different things that they have responded to that we might be paying attention is the tanker rollover at Westchester. The wonderful thing about that was that all of the systems and processes were set up so that they were immediately able to respond to that. That took a lot of different coordinating of different different resources. People were brought in from Lunken in order to assist with that, but that was definitely something that that the EMA was ready for and could actually handle. Probably something, no offense, that would have been bigger for Westchester, Fairfield Township, or for anybody to handle independently by themselves because of the scale and magnitude of that. And that's what the EMA does. They frequently do that exact kind of thing, and they stand at the ready to help when things happen. Some of the other things that they're going to be practicing with, there's some things that they're going to be looking at Miami University, some elevator work there. They've got a number of different tabletops and practices that they're going to be working on. They responded to multiple missing child situations, and they handled that admirably. The one thing that I think we might want to think about, and you all might be already doing this, but it wouldn't hurt to just have a meeting and brush up on it, is just having a meeting with EMA and with fire and police, just to kind of talk through the different scenarios that might come up. Because I'd rather that we have those conversations in advance now than when something happens and we need to respond to it. So I just think it would be, I don't think we've done that for a while. I know that you're constantly speaking with them, but I really would like to have that conversation with the EMA board. I'm happy to attend that, and we can just talk about the scenarios and talk about things so that we have both fire and police integrated into that, because the whole point of EMA is preparedness, so that when things happen, we're ready and we can handle it. So I think that would be a good thing to do going forward. Yes, so thank you for my appointment back on that board. I do enjoy that, and I think they're doing a lot of really great things.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to keep going.
Nope, I will, but
okay.
Clout?
Okay, I am Clout, sorry.
I'm sorry, no, OKI. Back on OKI, I was appointed back to the OKI board by the Butler County Township Administration at the last meeting. There is no meeting scheduled in December. This is just our nominating committee meeting, and I've been asked to help serve on that committee too. So nothing really to report there. Clout, nothing in particular to be reporting on that either. Just make sure that you keep an eye out for the cloud activities that will be happening at the OTA. That's all I have.
Okay, board member comments. Trustee McAbey?
Not at this time.
Trustee Harkemeyer?
Can we just take a look at the calendar and make sure that there's nothing, and I really do appreciate everyone's diligence at taking a look at that and adding things to it. So if we could just take a look at January and make sure that the things on there are the things that we need to do. And the good thing about this calendar is, having worked on it for about a year now, is we're starting to get this really fleshed out so that the information is on there. And we can continue to add to it or take away from it as appropriate.
The only thing I see is that we'll have to add the thing that Katie just brought up. Process for special meetings.
Okay, fantastic. Well, and also if we want to change the December, the things that we just took care of tonight, if we want to take care of and add to the calendar that we take care of those in December as opposed to January too, if that's what the board would like to continue doing.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, having the organization done for the township in December.
Does everybody like it that way or prefer it? I can do it any way you guys want to do it.
As long as it's legally permissible, I have no issue with
Okay.
that.
Add, though, the special meeting to your organizational resolution.
Okay. I'll
For
do that.
future, yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments? I attended a very cold tree lighting at Bridgewater. Not a lot of people out, but it was, because it was bitterly cold. One of our new businesses was there handing things out, everything but the bottle, which opened up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, couple weeks ago.
And so, but it was, I mean, the kids had a good time. There was, ironically, there was axe throwing. Now, they were like inflatable axes with Velcro, but it was still funny to see kids throwing axes. So that was great. I've had conversations with the administrator about asking department heads to continue to find ways cutting spending without affecting personnel. And so if you can continue to do that, I think that would be amazing. Unfortunately, we're not one of our neighboring townships where funds just coming in on boxcars daily. That's just not where we are. So we may need to do some things that are not comfortable in order to make sure that we continue to have funds until we could pass a levy. And so, I think this needs to probably start in January, looking at, is it necessary to, and I don't want to say I know your jobs. I trust each one of you to do the job the best of your ability, and just take like some added thought behind, like, how long are people out salting? Like, when do we go out? When do we start? I'm not asking you to say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. But just look at that. And like overtime, if it's possible, if we have to not have as many people on duty, unfortunately, we have a lot of good mutual aid partners with Hamilton and Liberty and Westchester and the city of Fairfield. And so is it possible to not fill every position every single time that there's not somebody there? I don't know that. And the same with police. Like, again, I'm not assuming I know how to tell you how to run your department, but I'm asking for help as one of the trustees that has to make these decisions for our citizens. Like, is there ways that we can do that? And if there's not, there's not. But if there is, if you will work with the administrator to have her pass those things on to us three trustees, that would be wonderful. And hopefully, and if we send something to the ballot in 2026 where the residents are like, yep, those are the services that we want, then maybe these discussions aren't as drastic in 2027. Okay, I just want to let you add something to that.
Could I please, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah.
The other thing that I would respectfully ask you to think about too are what are the things that the state is making us do? Okay. Are there things that are required, that are mandatory, that they're saying you have to do this? Because we had a discussion about this at Cloud, because we're all in kind of the same boat here. Across the state, we are all in the same boat. And my thought was, well, what are the things that we're being forced to do? What are the things that we have to do? So everything is going up in prices. Is there something that can be done at the state level to make things easier for townships to do business? So if there's anything that you see that like, wow, we have to do this because we're being told to do this by the state. If there's something that, wow, I don't like the price of this, is there something we can do about it? I'd like to have those discussions because maybe there's something we can do at the state level. I don't know about the federal level, but maybe there's something we can do to start asking those questions. And that could help Fairfield Township and that could help townships across the state of Ohio as well. So if you think of anything like that, please surface that. I'd like to talk about that more.
I have one suggestion. Prevailing wage rates. Schools are exempt, we're not.
Okay.
Why? Why do we have to pay it and they don't? 'Cause I think they're exempt, the first 5 million?
I'm not an attorney.
I know you're not, but you were on the school board.
That's something I didn't look into. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah, the schools are exempt from prevailing wages up to a certain amount, whereas townships are not. We have to pay prevailing wages anything over 40 or 75,000. So why do we have to pay it and the school doesn't?
So that's a state thing or a federal?
It's a state thing.
Okay.
Well, and some, depending on whether we get federal grants, then we have to pay the Davis-Bacon.
Okay.
That would help us a lot with the fire station.
Okay, announcements, Christmas Eve Day observed on Wednesday, December 24th, and Christmas Day holiday is Thursday, December 25th. The township offices will be closed. There's a special trustee meeting on Monday, December 29th, 2025 at 5 p.m. right here at the Township Admin Building. New Year's Day is observed on Thursday, January 1st, 2026. All township offices will be closed. And the regular trustees meeting is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. At this time, I move to enter into executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22 G1 to consider the discipline, appointment, employment, or compensation of a public employee or official, and ORC 121.22 G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property, a competitive bidding, or the sale of other deposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit use property in accordance with sections 505.10 of the revised code. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? I do not anticipate any action to follow executive session,
But it could.
but could. I don't anticipate it, but could. I'm hoping not, so I can get going. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
That motion passes. We enter into executive session at 6. Are we recording still? Okay, it is 6:16 p.m. We are back from executive session. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Present.
Trustee Harkemaier? Trustee McAbey?
Okay, there is no action to follow executive session. At this time, I move to adjourn. Is there a second? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier? Trustee McAbey?
And that motion passes. We adjourn at 6:17 p.m.